Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our I Am Done Right viewpoint series. My name is Armand Adriano. I am an IAM architect with IAMTEAM, and with me is Jad Deason. He's an IAM specialist at IAMTEAM. We are your hosts for today's webinar about intelligent provisioning. Just a reminder that this session is being recorded, and we'll send out the playback link to everyone after this meeting. Okay, let's get started. So the primary purpose of this webinar is to share our thoughts and experiences on identity and access management and how it can help your business become more efficient, compliant, and secure. We run this session every other week and present relevant topics about IAM. This webinar is brought to you by IAMTEAM. We are a team of IAM professionals, and we're here to help businesses realize the benefits of IAM. We provide advisory, deployment, and managed services, and we offer solutions around identity governance, access management, and privilege management. So today our focus is identity governance, and we'll talk about the business challenges around provisioning access. What do we recommend to solve the challenges, and give a short demo on provisioning new users and when users move from one department or one role to another. And then at the end, we'll reserve some time for Q&A. Make sure that we open up the floor for questions, and we'll address any of those at the end. Okay. So let me start with something real. What you see here is an onboarding process for one of our clients. It's overly manual and with multiple layer approval process, and with diverse set of targets, on-premise and cloud-based. One of the findings is that it could take up to 2 weeks to completely provision access for a new employee. So that brings the first challenge. Process is very costly, manual labor and complicated, and because users don't get the right access the first time, there's a lot of redos and therefore increasing labor costs in provisioning access. And the users are not able to do their jobs effectively, so productivity is definitely decreased. And then there's the compliance issue. Departments are left to do their own security administration, creating their own silos, and making it very difficult to decide who has access to what and who did what. And because there are islands of management, the risk to one of your most precious assets, data, it increases. Security policies are not centrally enforced. And as users move from one role to another, they keep their old permissions and get ones. So they accumulate access, which they don't need. Now, as those users accumulate access, it increases the risk to your data, and there is a cost to data breach. Data breach has a price. In one study from the Ponemon Institute, the root cause of a data breach can be attributed to any of the 3 root causes: human error, system glitch, and hackers or insiders. Of course, hackers, insiders is by far the worst of the 3, and from the study, with an average cost of $4.77 million, and this includes technical corrective actions, press releases, cost to regain customer trust and image. So there is a significant financial impact if the provisioning process is not handled properly, thereby increasing your risk to your data and users getting access that they don't need. So how can we make this right? So in any organization, typical organization, you have all sorts of systems, applications, databases, directories that you need to manage. But with the rise of digital identity, you have mobile devices that you need to provision as well. It could be iPhone, could be tablets, could be wearables. And of course, let's not forget cloud applications. There are hundreds, if not thousands of them out there right now that you need to manage. And as you move to the cloud, you encounter all of these cloud apps as well. And you have all kinds of users that need access to these devices, to these directories, to these applications. You have auditors who need to ensure that or investigate any issues or any security issues found in these devices or in these systems. Systems admins who need to be able to, on a daily basis, manage user accounts on these entities. And then you got asset owners who are concerned about their assets, about their applications, ensuring that the right people have access to those applications. And managers needing to be able to ensure that their peers or their direct reports have appropriate access to do their jobs. And so one approach is to have an identity governance system applied in the middle of all this to orchestrate the provisioning of access for all the systems. That identity governance should have some key ingredients, of course, common user interface for users, administrators. You have an identity logs where you could certainly say who provided access to a certain individual and who gave approval. An identity repository, so you could ascertain which users have access to what. And then some role definitions. So when you provision access, you provision based on their role, therefore providing them appropriate access. And then security policies that can be enforced. So all in all, you should have that identity governance be the central hub for managing access, requesting access, approving and validating access on a regular basis, and even auditing. And then that identity governance system should have the capability to manage those devices, those systems, those directories and database, create, modify, suspend, enable, and delete accounts. On top of that, that identity governance system should have that capability to integrate with your system of record so that you can automate a lot of the day-to-day activities that happens within your organization, especially for joiners who are new employees or contractors joining your business, your organization, be able to automate the provisioning of accounts for all these users. Movers, people who move from one department or one role to another. And then leavers, people who are leaving organization either permanently or on a long-term basis. Have that capability of integration. So that is one, this is one common solution that we've applied to a lot of our clients. The identity governance solution, there are a lot of identity governance solutions out there, but this is a component view, if you will, of what a good identity governance solution looks like. So with that, I will turn this over to Jad, who will provide us a quick demo about how this all works together. And so I'll turn that over to you.
Hi, Arman. Thank you. So we've prepared a demo for everyone here, and this would be a simple demo, and this is what we face with our clients from time to time here. So we have an HR system, and this HR system is connected to a provisioning system. And with that provisioning system, if a new user was to enter the company, they would have an Active Directory account or a Salesforce account. So for this demo, we would be filtering the entitlements of each user depending on their job title. So for example, scenario 1, we have a new hire who is Michael Barnes, and he would be a sales representative. As a sales representative, he would be entitled to an Active Directory account as well as a Salesforce account. And for scenario 2 here, we have a new hire who is Hans Ryder, and he is a procurement specialist. And as a procurement specialist, they are only entitled for an Active Directory account. So let's get to it here. So just to show that the user does not exist in Active Directory, if we look over for Michael Barnes, not exist. And if we look over for Hans Rider, does not exist as well. And if we could check over Salesforce, Michael Barnes does not exist, and Hans Rider does not exist as well. So let's start with Michael Barnes. So we have Orange HRM, which is our HR system. And for new employees, we just add the new employee. Michael Barnes. And as HR manager, I would assign Michael Barnes to the sales representative job title and assign his manager as well. So he would be a sales representative. And he would be reporting to Mike Manager. So the importance of adding the supervisor or manager in this case is on the first day of Michael, he would get a temporary password for his local workstation, and Mike Manager would receive this and hand this over to Michael Barnes. And depending on the Active Directory policy, upon login, Michael would have to change his password because he was provided a temporary password. Now let's add a second employee. Let's try here. And other than a sales representative would make him a procurement specialist, which in this case, he is not entitled to a Salesforce account, but he is entitled for a Active Directory account. Okay. I have Mike Manager, direct reporting. Great. So now that's saved. If we go over to Salesforce, we should only see Michael Barnes. Perfect. As you see here, Michael Barnes now has a Salesforce account, and the check mark indicates that his account is active. And if we move over to Active Directory, we should see both Hans Rider. That's great. And we should see Michael Barnes as well. There you go. So now if you go to each account, if you go back to the scenario here, we see that Hans Rider only has an Active Directory account, and Michael Barnes has an Active Directory in Salesforce. So now that we confirmed that Michael Barnes has a Salesforce account, we just confirmed this in Active Directory. So quick refresh. Michael Barnes now has an Active Directory account. Go to Hans. You can see he's part of the procurement AD group within Active Directory. Great. So the last scenario that we have for everyone is position change. So let's say Michael Barnes has been doing really good within the company, and from a sales representative, he would be moved over to an R&D engineer. So our provisioning tool would do the following. The change of AD group would be applied. So now he has an AD account. Now he would be part of the research and development group within Active Directory, and his Salesforce account would be deactivated. So just to confirm here, Michael Barnes is still active within Salesforce. And if you go over to Active Directory, we would see he's not part of an AD group at the moment. So during a change, okay, so he's still a sales representative. So all I have to do here is change my job title, or Michael's job title, from a sales representative to an R&D engineer. You click on save. And there you go. So now once that's completed, our expected outcome is the Salesforce account would be deactivated, and he would now be part of the research and development group within Active Directory. If we go over to Salesforce, I do a quick refresh, and there you go. So now Barnes Michael is no longer active within Salesforce. And if you go to Active Directory, he's now part of the research and development group. So that shows how simple and efficient it can be based on the job title. And with your job title, you're entitled for your needed accounts to do your daily work. So that concludes this part of the demonstration. I'll hand it back over to you, Armin.
All right, thanks, Jad. Thanks for the demo. It's a demonstration of how we can automate a lot of this request for access, new users, and moving from one role to another. So we're now at a portion where we have a quick Q&A. If there's any questions, we'll open up the floor for any questions about intelligent provisioning, about identity access management in general. So we got a question here about what other cloud applications are supported. Well, the answer is depends on the technology that you're going to use. A lot of the well-known technologies out there, like IBM supports Office 365, Salesforce, and if you want something on-premise, IBM would be a good technology for that. There are cloud-based identity as a service providers as well, and a lot of this identity cloud as a service providers do support the most common cloud applications out there. So it all depends on the technology that you decide to go with, and one suggestion is ensure that based on your needs, be able to qualify whether that technology would be able to support the cloud applications within your environment. Okay, well, that concludes our session for today. Just want to leave everyone some final thoughts. Key to successful IAM implementation is understanding your current process and finding ways to make it better. I suggest you look at your provisioning process. How does it look like today? Is it complicated? How complicated is it? And are there any compliance issues? Do you see any risk to your data? And then find ways to simplify and streamline and automate where appropriate your processes. So thank you all for attending this call, and hope you join us in our next webinar. For the schedule of our next webinar, go to IAMTEAM.com/resources. The next session will be protecting the crown jewels. That will be on March 7th, and Cloud and On-Prem SSO will be on March 21st. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.